Dear learners, welcome you all to this module. The module is basically deals with the issues of sustainable development goals and lifelong learning opportunities for enhancing the capacities of the lifelong learners. The basic objectives of the module are to provide an idea of SDGs and lifelong learning, to identify need and relevance of lifelong learning opportunities in the 21st century, to highlight the importance of educational institutions as an avenue for lifelong learning opportunities in order to ensure the sustainable economy. In the 21st century, the policymakers often find themselves discussing how education should be made skill-oriented, which would develop and strengthen the capabilities of the people and make them productive citizens in future. Sustainable education, which follows an inclusive and non-discriminatory pedagogy, is the only way to provide the basic knowledge, training, and relevant skills to the people and make people productive in the real sense. A sustainable education which allows every human being to acquire relevant knowledge, skills, attitudes, and value necessary to shape a sustainable future is the need of the hour. Sustainable education can lead towards sustainable development, where the basic principle is to develop the well-being of both the planet and its people. Therefore, the basic philosophy of sustainable education is to bring long-term benefits and welfare to all. Besides, it is only sustainable education to prepare the learners for a sustainable living, or prepare the learners for living in a sustainable society or in a sustainable economy. Acknowledging the need for sustainable development through sustainable education, the heads of the states, government and high representatives in their meeting at United Nations headquarters in New York on 25th September 2015 adopted the document titled Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The idea was to adopt a new set of global sustainable development goals which would transform the world in the next 15 years. There are 17 goals to be achieved by 2030 for sustainable development. With regard to education, there is a specific goal, that is goal 4, where there is a target to achieve the inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. One of the objectives of the goal, that is the SDG goal 4, is to focus on the acquisition of foundational and higher order skills, greater and more equitable access to technical and vocational education, training and higher education, training throughout life, and the acquisition of knowledge, skills and values needed to be functional so that it would contribute to society. If we particularly look at the SDGs and lifelong learning opportunities, as we have already mentioned, the basic focus of SDG 4 is lifelong learning opportunity for all, which comprises all learning activities undertaken throughout life with the aim of improving knowledge, skills and competencies within personal, civic, social and employment-related perspective. Besides, the entire educational transition of the world have become techno-based, where there is a demand for equipping the adults or the people with necessary digital skills, which are defined as a range of abilities to use digital devices, communication applications, and networks to access and manage information. This modern context have facilitated myriad opportunities for the people to create and share digital contents, communicate and collaborate, and solve problems for effective and creative self-fulfillment in life, learning, work, and social activities at large. Besides, it has been increasingly being felt that everyone should be well equipped with digital skills, which are prerequisite for getting jobs and livelihood in the digital economy of the 21st century. The utilization of online learning as well as distance and open learning has made learning truly global. Along with this, the whole pedagogy of education is to make people functionally literate or digitally skilled. It is because People want such education that ensures better sustenance of living. Therefore, the entire education system is converted from traditional education system to independent ICT-based learning system. This kind of education would help the learners to possess the relevant digital skills that would further help to promote inclusive and equitable education and lifelong learning. Again, the idea of sustainable education should be designed in such a way that it helps to reduce the inequalities between haves and have-nots and the gender divides, while also keeping the learners up to date and educationally competent on the basis of their learned skills. Even in the context of India, the Ministry of Human Resource Development has been putting more and more emphasis on developing necessary skills among the learners as they need to be polished throughout their working life. These skills are necessary not only for securing a job but also for ensuring personal development in various ways. In fact, the appropriate application of knowledge in some emerging areas such as agriculture and other manufacturing areas can play a major role in providing a competitive edge to the Indian economy in the global market. The Commonwealth of Learning, that is COLE, also has demonstrated that by using information and communication technology and flexible blended learning approaches, access to quality technical and vocational skill development can be increased, which can further help to overcome the urban, rural and gender divides that exclude learners from training and create a skilled workforce of lifelong learners for the growth of informal and formal economies. Thus, the idea of sustainable education has the potential to create a knowledge movement in every aspect of human life in the 21st century society. Besides, for promoting and facilitating sustainable education or lifelong learning opportunities, various educational pedagogical techniques or methods and are evolving in a massive way so that anyone can access the world-class education at his or her own place or pace. In the context in the modern industrial era, modern interventions like open educational resources and MOOCs, that is the massive open online courses, have provided the platform for opening up the minds of the people hungry of knowledge. The higher education institutions, mostly the open and distance learning institutions, has the flexibility to equip the young people or the lifelong learners with relevant that prepares all the people of the nation to become responsible citizens who value a democratic and pluralistic society. However, in reality, it seems that still in India, only 5 to 7% of the population within the age group of 19 to 24 acquired some sort of skills through vocational education, while corresponding figure for the country like Korea, the Myanmar, Philippines, like say Hong Kong, say other parts of the South Asia countries is high as 90 to 98%. So, India is a country with a rich demographic dividend because nearly 54% of the Indian population is under the age group of 25 and 66% under the age group of 35. But the fact is that the adult, that is the 15 plus years population, literacy rate is only 69.3% at all India level. Again, if we consider the percentage of the population with at least some secondary secondary education above the age of 25 and older, it seems that there are huge disparities between the sexes in India, as female constitute not below more than 42% and male constitute not more than 65%. In addition to that, in case of labor force participation rate, the percentage of male is 78.8%, whereas the female participation rate is below 28%. So, this data prove that there is a lack of educational skill among the people, more specifically the adult learners, for securing their required livelihood opportunities. However, in the 21st century, even in India, it is being felt that everyone should be well equipped with digital skill as the prerequisite for getting the jobs and livelihood in the digital economy. So, the various forms of online learning such as OERs and MOOCs are expected to help the learners to possess the relevant digital skills and knowledge of subject that would further help them adopt inclusive and equitable education and lifelong learning. Again, if we particularly focus on education system in India, it seems that major percentage of population is general degree holders rather than professional and vocational skill holders. This has led to an increase in the educated unemployment as more than 90% Indian population is engaged in the unorganized sector, which also indicates the poor level of workforce participation rates in the various parts of India. However, recognition of power learning can be made an important mission on the part of the Indian policymakers of education, where traditional knowledge can be certified and given the credit so that a skill-enabled population can be created in the true sense. Thus, from the above discussion, it has been seen that in the fourth industrial revolution era, where society is fast changing, there is a need of providing training and retraining facilities to the people, those who want to upgrade their knowledge in order to live in the society with a sense of dignity and adequate ways of livelihood. In this context, lifelong learning opportunity is the most priority issue in the modern context. Higher educational institutions, with the help of the digital platforms, can promote lifelong learning opportunities to all. It has been felt that pedagogy of oppressed is a prerequisite for bringing positive social transformation and making people empowered in every aspect of their life. The Brazilian educator and philosopher Paulo Freire in 1970, who is also the leading advocate of the pedagogy of the oppressed, famously rejected the banking system of education in his seminal book, that is The Pedagogy of the Oppressed, because the system allows only a few people to receive education in the society. Freire called for providing education to all sections of people in a liberal way because he felt that the pedagogy of the oppressed and marginalized can't only boost up the knowledge economy, and subsequently all people in a society can contribute economically and socially in an equitable manner. Higher educational institutions have a vital role to play in building the knowledge and skills that are needed to ensure healthy, prosperous, and inclusive society in the country or across the world. Nevertheless, responding to the world's challenge requires higher educational institutions to evolve into the lifelong learning institutions. Reflecting a strong commitment to flexibility and responsiveness to meet the needs of a diverse cohort of learners. To address this diversity, higher educational institutions need to undergo a transformation, first by offering more flexible learning provision and assessment for adult learners. Second, by cultivating innovative pedagogies that recognize and make use of learners' power, work, and life experiences. And third, by establishing flexible learning pathways, which includes the strengthening of information and guidance services. To ensure the relevance of skill development and employability and respond to pressing local challenges, partnerships with the private sector and community organizations are equally vital. It is important to note that the role of higher educational institution extends far beyond work skills. We need to ensure that people in particular vulnerable group can benefit equally from learning opportunities. Making higher education more inclusive and equitable requires commitment from government and higher educational leaders who are responsible for mainstreaming lifelong learning into universities' everyday operations. Building strong ties between the higher education sector and the schools, technical and vocational education and training institutions, employers and communities is also essential for ensuring lifelong and life-wide learning provision. For instance, here we can cite the work that was done by the UNESCO, which was published, the report was published in the year 2023. Considering the background of a global education crisis and a growing recognition of the importance of lifelong learning, the UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning conducted a comprehensive research project that included, among other components, an international survey on the contribution of higher education institutions to lifelong learning, including responses from 399 higher education institutions worldwide, offered important insights into the ways in which lifelong learning is integrated into the structure and practice of higher education. The results of the study were received with great interest from the audience, reflecting the importance of the topic in the higher education sector. Within the current global debate on transforming education, the idea of recognizing a universal entitlement to lifelong learning is gaining traction. Universities and other higher education institutions are essential stakeholders for lifelong learning. Again, in the report like Reimagining Our Future Together, published by UNESCO, the International Commission on the Futures of Education argued that higher education institutions must be active in every aspect of building a new social contract for education, and were destined to become more involved in adult education practices. So, widening access through diversification and flexibility is the way for providing the lifelong learning opportunity to all by the higher educational institutions. By making lifelong learning a core mission of higher education institutions means opening up to a wider target group and incorporating more innovative and flexible forms of learning provision to meet the diverse educational needs of non-traditional learners. In terms of access and inclusivity, the two important groups targeted for lifelong learning activities by higher education institutions are working people requiring upskilling and reskilling, and individuals working in public and private organizations. This result indicates a focus on professional development with relatively less attention given to vulnerable groups and non-traditional learners. To address the diverse needs of lifelong learners, more flexible learning times, places and modalities, as well as shorter non-degree program and alternative certification or certificate or credentials to certify learning outcomes are needed. While traditional learning formats prevail over their more flexible counterparts in the higher education institutions surveyed, flexible formats are gaining traction. Online and other forms of technology-enhanced learning in particular are used extensively by the majority of higher educational institutions, with just over half offering at least one form of alternative digital and non-digital credential beyond traditional degrees, diplomas and certificates. Flexible learning pathways enhance access to higher education and encourage transfer options between institutions and programs. Around 2/3 of the participating higher education institutions indicated that they have policies in place to support flexible learning pathways. Admission seems to be a major obstacle to expanding lifelong learning in higher educational institutions. Most institutions are still restrictive, requiring applicants to have a general secondary school certificate in order to access to higher education. Institutions show a high commitment towards the 2030 agenda for sustainable development, with 270 higher education institutions stating that their lifelong learning provision aims to contribute to the achievement of the agenda. Out of this higher education institution, nearly all also indicated that their lifelong learning provision contributes either strongly or to some extent to achieve to achieving inclusive and equitable quality education and lifelong learning opportunities, which encapsulates the Sustainable Development Goal 4. Essential to widening the access and diversifying learning opportunities is engaging with the wider community. The higher education institutions can host public lectures and workshops, and by collaborating with the other community centers and institutions. There is also need of high engagement with the private sector, as reaching out to wider society is a key priority of higher education institutions. Please check the sources, as the report that is published by the UNESCO is available in this website, and you can read the research project in detail for your own benefits. In fact, the higher educational institutions could provide the lifelong learning opportunities to those by creating the needs of disadvantaged and marginalized learners. Lifelong learning focuses on holistic education, and it has two dimensions, namely lifelong and broad options for learning. These indicate learning but integrates traditional education proposals and modern learning opportunities. It also entails an emphasis on encouraging people to learn how to learn and to select content, process, and methodologies that pursue the self-design and self-perfection. Lifelong flexible system encourages the learners to become as self-directed learner, prioritize their learning experiences in their own pace of interest. The SDG Goal 4, which entails the quality learning opportunity to all, will be achieved through creating the lifelong learning environment in the educational institutions. Therefore, it is a duty on the part of the educational leadership to create a lifelong learning center in each higher educational institution for mobilizing and developing the skills and qualities of the learners into more productive and constructive. The emerging technologies has also encouraged the learners to become as lifelong learners. Lifelong learning is defined as all learning activities undertaken throughout life with the aim of improving knowledge, skills, and competencies within a personal, civic, social, or employment-related perspective. It is sought out necessarily through life experiences, as the learner seeks to gain knowledge for professional and personal reasons. The concept of lifelong learning has become a vital importance with the emergence of new technologies that change how we receive or how we perceive and gather information, collaborate with others, and communicate. The 21st century learning environment empowers the people to become aspirers of knowledge and also inspires the learners to become innovators and smart learners with the help of artificial intelligence in this virtual world. In fact, the 4 pillars of learning, that is the learning to know, learning to do, learning to be, and learning to live together, as suggested by the Delors report in 1996, could be visualized through the process of lifelong learning only. If such learning environment can be created in the academic field, then the philosophy of providing equitable and quality learning opportunity to all could be visualized in the true sense. So, dear friends, as mentioned above, the goal 4 of the SDG is dedicated to achieve inclusive and equitable quality education and to promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. One of the objectives of Goal 4 is focus on the acquisition of foundational higher skill, greater and more equitable access to technical and vocational education, training in higher education, training throughout life, and the acquisition of the knowledge, skills, and values needed to be functional so that it would contribute to society. Lifelong learning comprises all learning activities undertaken throughout life with the aim of improving knowledge, skill, and competencies within the personal, civic, social, and employment-related perspective. Besides, the entire educational transaction of the world have become techno-based, where there is a demand of equipping the adults or the lifelong learners with the necessary digital skills, which are defined as a range of abilities to use digital devices, communication application, and networks to access and manage information. However, the reasons behind the emergence of skill-based education institution in both conventional and ODL mode is manifold, such as population overgrowth, economic liberalization and globalization in a massive way, popularity of the global or lifelong learning as well as blended learning, quick expansion of multimedia technology, inclusive growth, need of manpower planning for creating knowledge-enabled population, and so on. This context have facilitated the myriad opportunities to people to create and share digital contents, communicate and collaborate, and solve problems for effective and creative self-fulfillment in life, learning, work, and social activities at large. Open and distance learning is the only way through which the lifelong learning opportunity can be imparted to everyone by developing digital contents and methodologies for delivering the contents to everyone. Due to its openness, flexibility, integration of affordable and accessible technology, ODL can reach to the unreached easily in terms of providing lifelong learning opportunity in a wider context. So, now we come to the end of this module. Thus, in this module, we have discussed the importance of lifelong learning, SDGs, and how does the distance or open learning promote the higher education institutions or the open universities can promote the lifelong learning opportunities in detail. So now we come to the end of this module. In the next module, we shall discuss the open educational resources, massive open online courses, blended learning, etc. So see you again. Thank you.